Alright, Joe. Um, this section really here was like super weird. Oh, what is this circle? I never seen this. Is this new? Whoa. Oh, that is hard actually. I think that's brand new. I never seen that before. Okay, check it out. This is a really weird section, right? Kind of a clear bear flag, but like also really at the top of this like area, looking like maybe like t taking a high and then the next day like pushed down, but then it closed up here again. So it was like maybe they want to keep pushing up higher. And then the next day took another high, but it was a trap and then dumped. And then from here, yeah, it was a little bit, from here it was a little bit clearer that we're probably going to go down because there's a lot of conviction in this bar. This bar has the most conviction out of all the bars thus far, right? Like it's closing on the low. This kind of closed on the high, but like, still kind of a doji. Like Bears were able to run it back enough at the last second. This one had very little conviction. This one had, yeah, this one looked like it might have a little bit of conviction, but then it kind of got run through, so it was clear that that was a nothing. And then this made it clear that this was kind of a nothing when it dumped down here, but then it rallied, just towards the end to kind of get a decent close. But then this one had a lot of conviction in its close. So the next day, super strong. Is this where we are right now? This is like our current day, yeah. So this is very strong, and now we also have this exact one-to-one tap. So two legs down. Um, we just got to keep an eye on this. How is this gonna work? Let's take a look at this real quick because we had a couple setups, couple daily chart setups here. Let's take a look at all the daily chart setups that we had. We had this pump here. In my opinion, this is a setup. Usually, usually I'm gonna say that this is a setup here. When we get this low in, we take this shot up here and then it comes back immediately. And even though it goes across the thing, like following this really strong move, like look at what happened here, right? We had this super strong pump and then this dump that goes all the way through and it ends up rallying really hard again. So same thing here, really strong pump, dumps back all the way through, but it doesn't dump to, like, this was the last higher low before we had this pump. Maybe even this. You can even say this, like, if this ends up going through this low, we're probably still going to say that this is a higher low when we get this pump, right? I know it sounds weird and it sounds like retroactive and like, junk, but like it is relevant. So strong pump, rejection, back to origin, but not able to break through. And like, it's almost like this didn't happen, but this did happen. So we get this another pump here, and then it's almost like it didn't happen, but it kind of did happen, and we maintain this low. So then when we get this pump here, this is viable. And then the same thing kind of happens here. Tries to run it all the way back, but has a great close here. This is the level, this is the buy level right above this bar. Your stop is probably going to be either under here or under here, depending on how loose you want to play with it. So we get the entry here. This is a small bar, not really a great small bar. Um, you can technically take the long above it or the short below it. The short is inadvisable because we're in what's looking like a decent trend. You may be thinking that the same way we had this kind of thing, like maybe we're going to start like a trend down like this, and so you can take the short here and then push down. But this momentum from this and this is pretty strong, so the short doesn't really make sense. It's kind of inadvisable to take the short. What you could do is take the long here and put the stop underneath here. I don't know which way it went first. I'm going to guess it went down and then went up. But either way, this is not a very convicted bar. And I know that this also wasn't really a convicted bar either, but this is much lower in the range, right? Like we have this, if we have this type of range here, I mean, first of all, we have this big range, right? But like when we're starting to see lower high, then lower high, if we bring the range down here, kind of thing, and maybe we bring the range up here. Down here, this is kind of still middle of the range. We're still kind of expecting, now we're having some momentum over here. Like it doesn't make as much sense that we're going to break down through this range. We have this double bottom. Um, so it makes more sense that we're going to try and push up higher. But now here, we're getting closer to the high of the range. And if you don't include this wick, if you just put it down right here, we basically already tapped the high of the range. So it doesn't make as much sense to be taking the long here. Like I said, it doesn't make much sense to take the short because there's so much bullish momentum, but the long is less of a strong play here. So you also don't have to take this. So I'm not going to include this as one of the setups, but it is technically a setup that you can take the long and then it kind of peters out here. I mean, this is another one. This would also be a setup. This would be a better setup, I would think. That this was kind of a inside bar with nice high close. Um, So you could take the long above this, but that long doesn't trigger, and in fact, we dump down here, we dump down here. We end up putting in yet another higher low here, and then we scream upward here. Um, now we're a little bit nervous because we have one push here, two push here, three pushes up. Should we do the replay? I don't want to do the replay because it's a little bit easier when you can see what happens here. And it's not because I'm trying to tell you, yo, you should have taken this trade. We're just looking at these setups so that we can see which setups have been run through at this point. So I think this is one of the good setups here. Your next good setup is probably here. Here, you're not really sure. Like, this is a really strong pump here with pretty regular, normal volume. And I guess you feel like you're supposed to take the trade up here, but you don't really want to take the trade up here if we get up here because your stop is going to be all the way down here. It's a really high risk trade. So then the next day we get this inside bar, but it's a really, really strong close on the inside bar. So this one makes a lot of sense. You take the trade here and your stop is going to be underneath this bar. It triggers right here. You're in a great trade. You could take the long above this bar, but this was a really extended bar, so maybe you want to wait. Same thing like with this, you had an extended bar, so we kind of wait to get like a nice small bar that we can trade. So extended bar, we maybe want to wait. That's why maybe we don't get such high conviction. Again, we're also at the top of this. We're getting towards the top of the range here now, right? So we're getting towards the top of the range, so you want to be a little bit more careful in the long in just taking any long anywhere. So this probably you're not going to take, but then this you get a nice inside bar entirely basically above the close of this bar. This is a good one. And then this also happens to coincide with, I believe, the weekly close. Like this happens all in like an hour and a half before the weekly close and an hour and a half before this candle closes. I think what happened, if I remember correctly, was we punctured up a bit here, like maybe to 45.3 or something like that, and then we were kind of chilling at 40, just under 45, and then last second we busted up through the thing. So this is a reasonable inside bar to take. You buy above this and then again stop right below it. Really, really, really tight trade. And we get a beautiful candle up here. This is a really, really strong, like always in feeling candle. But if you look at the volume, very low volume relative to everything else that's been going on. So of course we get a follow through. Like there's nothing to sell here. Like I don't even think that we barely even try to put in a sell off like $150 from the like quarter or a third of a percent of the open dump and then immediately pump up. Let's bring it up. Here we have another inside bar, so you can again try and take a buy above this. The thing I don't like about this inside bar is really, really no conviction, really, really, really strong tail to the upside. So that's a lot of selling pressure. Same thing that we kind of had here. There was some selling pressure, but this one was a much better looking bar. That's why we take this bar instead of this bar. This bar had really nice conviction. You see the buying pressure underneath, right? In this body zone here, and then really strong push towards the end right into the close. So that's why that one makes a lot of sense to take. Same thing with here, buying pressure, push into the close. Even though it's still a red, red bar, but that's kind of a product of where it had to open because of how convicted this candle was. But yeah, that's okay. And then this one is kind of like really just a dreidel looking doji. Um, and again, we had some reason to maybe not want to take this one. But yeah, maybe you don't want to take this one anyway. The long doesn't ever trigger, and we get this dump. Okay, so of all of these setups, let's take a look at the setups that we had here. The reasonable daily setups was 1, 2, and 3 that we thought were pretty reasonable daily setups, right? Um, and of course, let's take a look at where our range is. This is kind of our range high. Yeah, around 45. Around 45, maybe a little bit higher than 45 kind of thing. I mean, you could even put it all the way down here as 44 and a half using bodies and such, right? But yeah, clearly back into that range where no matter how you define it, you want to define it up here, you want to define it down here, like you're certainly never defining it all the way down here, right? So you're definitely in the range. You definitely re-entered the range. What do we always say about getting into the range? When you get into the range, you probably want to take another shot at the other side. So it is somewhat reasonable that if we continue to accept this range and we don't like immediately bust out of it here, that we might just try and find our way back down to low 40s, high 30s, and have this as kind of a deviation. Not necessarily the case because we have been kind of building some like a bit of a trend line here. So, we shouldn't really be revisiting 37s off this unless, this was just, as we said, a bear flag that is ready to resolve to the downside, which is definitely possible. This could resolve down to 28K, and this is looking pretty strong. But for now, we're looking at it as possible 2 pushes down, bullish, still got a lot of bullish strength from, I mean, we can't forget all this that just happened, right? As channel-y as it was still a really sharp and aggressive channel. So I think we still should expect at least some sort of test of 47K, even if we are going to go to 28K. But yeah, right now, this last setup has been invalidated. So this was your final flag of the bull push. If you kept your stop, which would have been under here, that's done. If you used a break-even stop because you were in such extreme profit, that's done as well. And now we're looking to take this one, right? This break-even stop is in danger. This stop not so much as in danger. If you move the stop up to here after that, this is still not so much in danger, but yes, all of this is potentially in danger, you know what I mean? So we are looking at bulls getting potentially blown out, but there aren't too many. I wouldn't say there's like a whole lot of stops. Like maybe people are going to put stops under every candle, whatever the case may be, but there's not a huge cluster of stops anywhere except anywhere below us necessarily, just right now. Maybe down here. I'm sure there should be a bunch of stops like under here probably, but other than that, maybe like under here. But other than that, probably not going to be a lot of like major stop hunting going on in this region. This stop has been taken quite aggressively. We see like a really strong candle here. So yeah, this is what we're looking at on the daily. Why did we spend 15 minutes looking at the daily? Like, I'm not here for the daily, I'm here for the 4. This is what happens every time I start with the daily and we talk about it ad nauseum, and now we're here and like I don't have any interest to talk about this lower time frame stuff. But yeah, lower time frame. I mean, like we said, we have kind of a two-legged correction, kind of not really like this, maybe like this kind of thing, maybe like this kind of thing, diagonal, parallel channel, but basically this is just like look at the selling pressure here, right? We thought this was going to be this kind of looked like a decent pump, sold back down, tried again to break out, sold back down, and again, same kind of thing. These are not great setup bars, but these are the type of setup bars that say, yeah, we're going to probably break above this, but then we do break above this, and then we break right back down, so not a good long here. Same thing with here. tried to get something going here. We looked like we had one push down, two push down, and then nice break of this trend line, strong push up, and then we had inside bar here, break above that inside bar. This is also kind of an inside bar, kind of an outside bar. Like, it's really hard to say. It's basically like an identical bar doji, but it closes green, so reasonable chance that we're going to take a shot up a little bit higher. We take this shot. It's a really strong push, but then really strong rejection, and rejected through the low, and then we get yet another push down, another really strong attempt to come up on something, and again, major rejection. And now we're in this kind of trend. So a lot of selling pressure up here, really no buying going on at all above this level. And I mean, if you look at what happened in here, there's, this is all distributive, right? Really nothing happening in the way of buying. Everything is getting rejected. Buyers are really not able to do anything. And then huge rejection out of this level that takes out, again, this where was the setup on the daily? Because did this get taken out initially already? No, it came and stopped just at the stop level. If you had a break-even stop on this entry, yeah, you got stopped out. But if you kept your thing underneath, you didn't get stopped out until today. A lot of profit taking here from this rejection. When we get rejected from here, and like everybody here is nervous that are still in their longs, a lot of this is going to be profit taking here. Hence why all of these rejections, sellers are entering, but a lot of buyers are exiting as well. And we get this nice push down. I mean, it's just really strong right now. It's really hard to fade this and say, yeah, we should be at 45K by the end of the day. And I mean, like, the daily chart looks just horrific. It looks like it wants to just keep pushing down towards this 40K region. So we really need to see like what's going to happen. We really need to get a bounce kind of soon in this area, 42s or something like that, because on the weekly chart, yeah, on the weekly chart, this was our entry, right? Above here, this is our entry on this level. Of course, our stop is all the way down here underneath this bar. Why is this our entry, by the way? Because strong push down, right? Breaks the trend line, bounces again off the trend line, puts this bar inside bar. It's effectively an inside bar. I know it goes a little bit lower. Effectively an inside bar of this. Effectively yet another inside bar of this. So we now have an II situation. How do you trade an II? You want to take the trade on either side of it as long as there is a reasonable expectation of meeting a profit target. So pushing down through here, maybe your profit target would be around 28K or 29K, but this bar is just so strong in buying, right? Like, this bar tried to push up high, but it got rejected back to origin. This bar tried to push up, but it got rejected back to origin. Notice that neither bar ever really tries to push down below. And this bar tries to push up again. It can't make a new high, but it doesn't get rejected back to origin. And that's why this one has a little bit more conviction. This is where buyers are showing, if we are willing to buy, we're not going to allow you to reject us below our origin. And, this one lets you know that let's get on board. So above this is the buy. This is your entry at 42.4. So this is a level that should be really, really heavily defended for the weekly. We do not want to let this one go. I think realistically, even if you are going to be bearish, it doesn't really make sense for you to feel like we should go like this. I mean, this certainly does, but I think we do need to have some sort of like retest of the high, and then maybe kind of like this kind of thing. But yeah, of course we could just keep pushing down here and then maybe do like this or something like that. But yeah, I do think that even if we are going to push down, we should still get a little bit of a like brief relief rally to 46, 47 kind of thing. But in the meantime, yeah, there's really nothing to do. It's really hard to get a trade in here. It's hard to take a setup in here. Like I said, with this little area flag. It's even out of this, it's kind of hard to take a trade. Like this, I guess is supposed to be your trigger and to get in here, but that's not really the type of trade that I'm super comfortable with, so I didn't take that trade. Now I'm just kind of waiting and looking and just kind of seeing maybe we can get some sort of pullback on the 1 hour that can be shortable or something like that. But like, look at this, like we had a big pullback here, sharp pullback, and then just got rejected again. Yet to see some sort of break of the trend line. This was really the only opportunity we had here in this flag. I think this is also a tough trade though, because we were considering maybe 1, 2 down. This had a really strong buyback wick, and then it had a decent follow through here. So it kind of felt like, maybe we could be done. And like we double bottomed with this kind of low. Maybe we can have some sort of push, and then we'll hold this level and then continue up higher. We get this little blah, 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 blah here, rejection here, response here, and like this is like 6 candles. This is like 6 green candles here. So you don't really want to necessarily believe it that it's going to dump, but then you have this candle here. Let's delete this oval now. And then this is really your trigger, outside down bar. This is the outside down bar that lets you know, okay, it's time to go here, right? And then great follow through, another inside bar. So you can take, again, this trade if you want. Above this level, under, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. On the breakout of this level. And then other than that, not really, there really haven't been any setups here. Maybe again, kind of this outside up bar, but then has no good follow through, and look at what happens after that. It breaks through the thing. I mean, this is technically a break of the trend line, but not a good one unless this closes. Unless it's able to close close to 44K, I wouldn't consider this to be a break of the trend line. I need to see this be like a green candle. Otherwise, it's just a rejection of the trend line, and like probably expect that we just continue up here. But we are getting kind of like a, yeah, I guess it's a little bit easier to do like a channel kind of thing. We are getting some sort of consolidation up here in the form of a channel, maybe in the form on some level, like this is kind of what I started with, like this kind of thing, but we're above that deviation. But yeah, kind of bulls are maybe hoping to bring things back into this range, and then maybe we can take a shot at coming back up to 45K, but it's just looking pretty ugly right now. Not really tradable because there aren't really any setups right now, but you know, be patient. We'll find a setup. Setup will come. So yeah, that's our today's update, the 6th of April. All right.